mentally keep up with people now. And like before, physically, I could always be the best. I was the best on the planet at the hardest sport in the world. That's a lot of effort. But now I get to express myself mentally and emotionally, and I'm trying to keep up with people like my girlfriend, who's a fucking super genius, or like the other intellectuals that are around me. And dude, it's exhausting. I am nowhere. I am microdosed to the gills. I am, food, exercise, breath work, meditation, efficiency, like I've never had it before. And I'm not even close to keeping up with these people. They're so smart. It's a little maddening because I have so much information shoved into my brain.
Now, you talked about the microdosing, and I know we're going like through the MMA career. At what point did you find out that would be a benefit for you as an MMA fighter, as an athlete?
Oh man, I was already retired. I mean, I already knew about the benefits. I had been into psychedelics. I think my first psychedelic trip was 13 or 14 years old.
Oh shit!
And I think it was LSD. Yeah, we ate LSD at I don't know, long story. But I had done all this studying. I had been able to educate myself on this for years, and then finally I used psychedelics to help me get off of painkillers. And my addiction to pills, because most people don't know that I was addicted to painkillers from 14 to 34.
Wait, how does a 14-year-old get addicted to painkillers?
When you injure yourself, you're a star athlete, and you have a doctor, and you're, I'm from Orange County, a bunch of rich kids that you have access to whatever. Right. Like literally anything. That's where this epidemic started, was with rich kids getting pills. That's why you see, it's the opposite way from like the crack epidemic up, from the bottom up. Now you have, the fucking from the top down, and it gets all of us. You can't get caught slipping because you will die, and it killed me once.
For sure.
Now the one time I was sober, I became the best in the world.
Okay, so that's when you're competing at this high level. This was when you said you weren't on the painkillers, you weren't on the drugs. You were basically mentally focused on the task at hand.
Yeah, that was for I think like 2 years about. But I had one slip up in there, and that's when it killed me. And so I came back. I fought for the first time after rehab for the second time. I got out. I needed money. I fought. I won. I went to go get tattooed, and I slipped up and took some pills. Well, I took obviously too much. I woke up in the hospital a couple of days later. I had aspirated. I was dead. They brought me back. I had to stay there for about a week. So I signed to fight Jussier Formiga. At that point, he was looking at the best in the world. I signed to fight him when I was in the hospital. That was the one fuck up I had. So yeah, my lungs hurt, but the rest of me was fine. Like I was good. Right. So I waited, and then you're trying to make a name off me. Fuck you. Like, I'm gonna whip your ass. Like don't do that. And so I beat him up, became the best in the world, and then I was sober for another, whatever it was, 6 months or so. And maybe longer than that. I don't know what it was. Until I fought Demetrius the first time. Okay. And I had a few fights in between there where I won a belt and did all this stuff.
Now, the Demetrius fight, real quick, before you get into that fight, the first Demetrius fight, that was the first time flyweights had headlined the card, correct? Or roughly?
Yeah,
What's that
so
like?
No, we didn't headline anything.
Oh, I thought that was a headline.
Not the first one, the second one was.
Oh,
the first
shit.
one, Martin Kampman fought.
You're right.
I don't remember. They were the headline, and then I was Benavides and Japanese.
You're right.
And then we were co-main. Okay. But yeah, the headlining event's cool. The last time I headlined an event actually was the one in Japan where Horiguchi TKO'd me. I was snorting oxycontin like 10 minutes before the fight. I was an addict. I'm sorry. Fuck, man.
So like how I have to because I don't know what that experience is like. But when you're competing at this high level, and you know what's on the line, and like there are things that can sort of benefit. Like for me, it's cannabis that benefits over. I haven't taken like a pill. I honestly couldn't tell you. It's been so many years. But my question to you is, when you're competing at that level, and you basically are weighing your options, what made you go to the pills as opposed to the cannabis?
because back then you couldn't have as much cannabis. And for me, I was smoking cannabis. I started smoking cannabis when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
Which is way too young. I mean, I look at my daughter's 8 years old now, and I'm like,
right.
How the fuck was I so naughty? How did this happen?
Different times, though. Different times. That was the 80s.
It was. That was almost. It was the 90s. It was or 84, so right. 92.
Okay, early 90s.
But yeah, so the cannabis, I mean, it's never done me wrong. I've been smoking for like 28 years. That's crazy. So the cannabis has always been in my system, and I've always been able to manipulate that, with body fat percentage and stuff for drug testing, because I know how it all works. I have an obsession with this sort of stuff. But the microdosing, I found out, back to the last question, I found out about microdosing before I retired, but never was able to do it until... Man, maybe I was retired before. I don't remember if I did it before or after.
Okay.
No, I know. You know what? I think I was doing it right before I retired. Didn't really take full advantage of it, and I was still on pills at any rate, so I wasn't able to fully get it. But then I got really into microdosing and formulating my own. Okay. And my personal favorite formulation is the Magic. You got lion's mane mushrooms for a neural protectant, protects your brain. Okay. It helps with the neurogenesis, the epigenetic neurogenesis, which is the healing of your brain. You have cordyceps mushrooms for vasodilation.
I know about those. Yeah, I know about the cordyceps.
So those are great. Yeah, for great vasodilation. And you have forms of energy sources in adenosine triphosphate. Okay, it's sort of like a caffeine, just you're not all jittery.
Okay.
But it is a good sustained energy source. Then you have, mushrooms.
Now, how are these the variations that you have? Is this like I guess with supplements they call it like stacking or whatever, where you put them together? Is that very like a similar?
A stack, yeah. Okay. Yes, a stack.
Okay.
So yeah, you stack this in one, because people are making these capsules, and obviously I have to go out of my way and say, listen, guys, you shouldn't do this. It's illegal. But you're going to do it anyways, because the numbers of people that are doing this is growing by 40% every year. So I want people to be safe.
Right, correct.
And to understand what they're doing, because harm prevention is huge. So you have the cordyceps, lion's mane, black pepper for absorption. It'll kick up absorption by a couple thousand%. Full spectrum turmeric for more nootropic and protective value, and then also inflammation. Okay. And then also CBD, very inflammation-based, semi-nootropic value because of the anti-inflammatory properties that are in it, because it just lets everything flow better. Everything from all the pathways, all the transmission of electricity, everything flows faster when you have less inflammation.
Real quick, the microdosing. I know we're doing all this with these pills. What would you say? What's the benefit of microdosing as opposed I know you're just trying to take small doses throughout the day, but what's the benefit of that? As opposed to maybe like one's like solid session to kind of maybe get it out the way.
Yes. Okay. So if I'm going to work with an athlete, this is what I suggest. Now, if you're going to ingest any natural plant matter or what have you, you need to get to know the plant first. Okay. This is how I feel. Right. And I've heard this from multiple people, and it's just something. Just when you work in this space a lot, this is how it just gets these weird understandings. And of course, mushrooms aren't plants. They're more closely related to us than they are to plant matter, which is great. That's why we have that symbiotic relationship, absorbing what it has to give us. But I say start with a big dose, because I need to fix you as a person first. We're fighters. We're all broken. Everyone is a broken child. But you happen to. But seriously, it's all sexual. It's all sex, violence, or abandonment. Everyone is a broken child, and it sucks. I think that we're starting to break the cycle. I know my parents broke the cycle. No one touched me. I went to Catholic school my whole life. No one ever tried to touch me.
I went to Catholic school to 5th grade, and no one ever touched me. So
not even close. I never saw anything. And I'm just saying, that shit didn't happen to me. So I think my parents have started to stop. They have started to stop as a whole, I think, as a society, because shit's gone so wrong. But, you have to fix this stuff first, because trauma is stored in the tissue, okay? And it will manifest itself in trying times, in the hardest times of your life where, I'm going into an octagon. No, I got octagon jitters because I'm a pussy. I don't have what it takes. But yeah, you do. you're in the UFC. You're pretty damn good. You're world class. You're here for a reason. Now the stress is high enough to where you're having these childhood traumas manifest themselves as octagon jitters or what have you. And to be able to deal with these issues first, number one, let's push the work out of the way. That'll come later. Let's make sure these things aren't popping up into your life daily or just whenever. When you're having an argument with your loved one or something crazy happens and you have a full somatic experience but you don't even know why. Your body locks up, you feel like you're having a seizure. No, this is trauma, leaving our bodies sort of thing. And to know that, we have these issues, we deal with them. Some stuff you don't even know. Our default mode network will kind of hide these from ourselves. And when you take psychedelics, that will drop. The fear response will drop. So you'll be able to see these traumas and go, oh, cool. Let me pull this out. Let me deal with this and go, all right, well, that's cool. And it makes it easier. But the most important part about psychedelics is something called integration. You have setting and intention before the trip. A little bit of homework, mindset. What's your mindset going into it? Setting, who are we with? What are we doing? Why? What are my surroundings? Music, sort of stuff. And then intention. Why are we doing this? What is the point of this? Then when you get to those points, most of the time you can find that stuff that you're looking for. Sometimes you don't, but something comes up and you work on it. So then after that, you have to integrate it into your daily practice, into that daily ritual of mindfulness and being a better person and being a better person as a whole, being a better parent, a better lover and spouse, a better parent. Like everything, it makes you better. Just on that side of it. Okay, so then from there, I can source you into a microdosing protocol for performance. And with the big dose, you deal with the trauma, the addiction, those sort of crises. And you can also offset things like vertigo, which I'm trying to do with my own dad. But you in one big dose like that, it's a kick in the pants. But then you get into the performance benefits in microdosing, and you have the process of epigenetic neurogenesis, the healing of the brain matter itself, the neural pathways, the old ones get restored, new ones get made, where you have your both hemispheres of your brain are now connected and talking, which usually doesn't happen. You have things like your opioid receptors and pain receptors are now clean and healed, so you don't have the addiction, you don't have the pain. I have really very, very, very little arthritis, and I've had 3 surgeries on my hand, 4 on my shoulder, fracture dislocation on my elbow, I've had MRSA in this arm 3 times. I got a lot of surgeries. A lot. That's just I busted every major joint on my right side. Let's put it that way, except for my ankles. But so you have the healing of the brain matter, and you have all this amazing protectant and healing properties. So you go into the cage, you're healing old, protecting from new actual damage of the brain. Okay?
So you feel the trauma from, like, for fighters, so you feel the trauma from past experiences sort of fuel the nervousness when fighters are entering the cage?
Yes.
Shit. Yes. Okay. I'm with it.
And it's, this is how it works. Again, I talk of science. I'm educated by, the people that are around me. I study people like Dr. Gabor Mate for addiction and trauma and all this sort of stuff, or working with just all the different organizations, studying from MAPS to, which is more MDMA, or working with Unlimited Sciences, like all these different companies or organizations that I get to educate myself with is just, it's incredible the amount of stuff that I can put in my brain. So from there, from all that or great stuff that's happening, then you get performance. Then you can get into the actual physical performance issues that you're like, wow, this is cool. Okay, so when you have a microdose is 0.05 of a gram to 0.25 of a gram, so 50 milligrams or 250 milligrams, depending on how you want to support it, really. Now, it's supposed to be a sub-perceptual dose. You're not supposed to feel it, but athletes, they like to perform a little high because that fear response is down and they get into a flow state. It's the truth. I wish I could have done this,
Right.
And I know that the UFC doesn't give a fuck about cannabis. I know guys are fighting stoned, or maybe not stone, but they're
got a little, they got a little bit in your system.
Because that's what we need. It's good for us. It's going to protect our bodies and our brains.
100%.
So when you get a little higher into about to 0.2 of a gram, you start to feel it, and you have an even greater uptick in vision, in hearing, in smell, and taste. Every one of your senses gets heightened. So that is the flow state is a very broad term. Again, I'm obsessed with this, so I figured out a lot.
I love it too. You dropping some knowledge on me. I'm learning some shit right now.
Yeah. So you have all your senses are heightened. That is the basic flow state. But that also means absorption of information, of microaggressions in the body. You study the opponent, you see the way the shoulders move, the faces, the expression, the breath, the footwork, his posture. All these things you study, and you can see them much more clear. Now, the fear response being down, you're in the flow state, you move, you slip, you try moves you've never gone for. You can land shots, see things you've never seen before, fight with your eyes open sort of thing. And everything slows down, but you're able to compute all the incoming information at a much faster speed. That's your mental efficiency. So then your actual kinetic efficiency, so that back to the fear response, your breath is smooth. It's like, it's just on this beautiful cycle of breath where I don't need to excite your body. I need to excite your mind. I don't need to pump you full of caffeine and pre-workout shit, like make your heart explode. No, you are a finely tuned machine. Yes, a little bit of caffeine, a little bit of these vitamins, a little bit of cannabis, whatever it is that gets you on the level, good. But keep it lower. Don't boost it up too much. We don't need that. You're a machine.
What's the time, or what do you, from the initial diving into the microdosing to the point where you're starting to assist athletes and fighters? What's the time frame on that?
Well, what do you mean? Like between from like a big dose to little dose sort of thing?
Right. So like you first start and you're trying to like let your body get acclimated to the feeling and things like that, to the point where you're microdosing and training.
Oh, it's quick. I mean, we could literally do a big dose on the weekend, and maybe say do it a Friday or a Saturday and take Sunday to decompress and think about it. Maybe do some yoga. I always highly recommend very hot yoga, hard yoga after a big session.
Okay.
And then you get into this like amazing flow state. Your meditation is the best time for meditation. Okay. I've been doing yoga for a long time. I've many different forms of it. It's something I love.
This quarantine has actually got me get into yoga. I bought a yoga mat years ago, and I've dabbled here and there, but I've probably done in like a short period of time. This is probably the most yoga I've done in one setting. So I feel better, and my dexterity and flexibility have been trash over the years. So I'm also doing it for that as well. But I just want to feel better about myself. I want to feel good when I wake up in the morning and throughout the day.
Yeah, and yoga does that. The breath work does that. I mean, I'm working on getting my master's class from my breath coach, Casper Vandermeulen in Holland. I was supposed to have already done it this year, but it's psilocybin assisted breath work. I'm so stoked to do it. Because again, you see the anti-inflammatory properties. You see the actual nutritional benefit of mushrooms. There's so many things to go. But let me finish about the performance benefits. So the breath is good. You have the actual linkage of the body. So you're not going to be physically stronger like with steroids. Right. You get that physical thing. But your kinetic linkage, the efficiency of your body moves like silk. It's amazing. And you actually have better mobility, where you know that cannabis gives you a deeper actual stretch. It gives you a deeper, more flexibility. Psilocybin will give you better mobility, so strength under flexibility. So some people, sit doesn't break kind of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you're able to, be so much more light on your feet, and the way you throw shots is just fully extended and rotated. You have proper technique broken down, like very, 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 very good.
Dude, and I'm excited.
Yeah, it's an amazing time. If you ever come out to California, I can lead you through some. We can go see one of my shaman and go on a vision quest and do it all, because it's a good safe thing, and I make sure to tick every box in this industry of, like I said, we We know about the safety and that sort of protocol, and like everything has to be done properly, because I see people in this world that are not doing it right. I mean,
you see a lot of people that don't do it right. You see it quite often. You hear these stories.
Yes, but if it's just some random person who doesn't know what they're doing, I can't get mad at them. Like, they're just trying to do it. It's people like myself that are trained, or at least they act like they are, and they're full of shit. And I've seen people end up in the hospital. I've just seen these people's like marketing material. Like they send you their little like profile, and I'm like, and I'm like, who? What is this? Like, this is bullshit. And I'm not gonna waste my time like calling these people out or shitting on them or anything, like, personally. But there's a good amount of them out there, and I can't stand up for that, because these medicines are so strong and so powerful and so important to us that, I mean, I'm gonna hold motherfuckers accountable. Like, well,
you also have to think about, like, if that person goes out here and someone comes to them and then they have a bad experience because that dude fucked up, then that person is gonna start telling people about it, and then it's gonna have a bad mark on the whole mushrooms and everything.
Well, and what if even if it's ayahuasca or peyote or whatever, if someone dies, you're gonna fuck this up for all of us. And I'm like, dude, I have to protect the people in this industry or world, because they need someone to be protective of them. Right. I don't mean to be mean, but they're softer individuals, more mild-mannered individuals who don't have, people aren't afraid of them. Well, people are afraid. People will respect you if I'm around, because I'll make sure they do, because you deserve it. The human condition is gross, man. And as the great Terence McKenna said, this is we're all afflicted with the same thing, and that's the human condition. And psychedelics fix the human condition. It doesn't matter who you are, and we all just need to get along, because dude, now the world's a crazy place right now. It is so nuts.
We're living in a crazy time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just nuts. I'm all these people asked about, what do you think? You think it's this or that, the Clintons and Obama, and like kids with their pineal glands being sucked out in the fucking basements in New York or some wild ass shit. And I'm like,
wait, people's pineal glands being sucked out. That's a new one. What?
Oh, dude, I hear this craziest stuff, and I have to sit back and then I go, listen. Right now, all I know is that there's a virus out there,
right.
And I know how to fight against viruses, because I take things like I have the myco diet. I take a lot of supplements like vitamin C, zinc. The myco diet that I preach is adding mushrooms into whatever you eat. I don't care if you're vegan, if you eat meat. I don't give a fuck. Add in a bunch of mushrooms to your system. Variety is the spice of life. Yeah. They have things like polysaccharides and beta-glucans in them that are antiviral properties. So they strengthen your immune. So the coronavirus and those creepy little arms. Say, for instance, THC and CBD have been shown in the studies to help negate the proteins that help build in your system to help those coronavirus cells stick those little things into your cells and put the bad information in there. It's
so
not living.
we've been seeing a lot in the past few days about they're saying cannabis and marijuana helping with people not catching the virus. And for me, I was just kind of like, man, I think somebody could be just writing a headline or whatever. I don't know, because I don't have that research knowledge. But you're saying that you feel like this is a real thing.
Oh yeah. And when you just gotta do the reading. I mean, I read a lot of big words I don't understand as well, but whatever, I try. When you put chemicals in your body, but not like when you look at pharmaceuticals, they're supposed to do one thing, and some of them do a few things, usually bad effects. The entourage effect from plants. Plants are meant to help your body. That's what they do.
Right.
And when you get the entourage effect of multiple things working, you're gonna have multiple things happen. And like for instance, where you have CBD, so cannabinoid has a cannabinoid receptor, and that bonds to the receptor and it works. Anti-inflammation. People go, oh, that sounds like snake oil. CBD heals everything. I'm like, it kind of does, because everything negative in your body is tied to inflammation. Everything in your body that's negative. So, yeah, Yeah, it kind of fixes everything, almost, kind of. You know,
like I know. I like the way it makes me feel when I take CBD quite often.
Yeah.
Probably not as every day.
It helps your body fight it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps your body not fight the inflammation, but fight actually what's wrong with it. So you're finding the same sort of thing with psychedelics. What they do is they're a serotonin receptor antagonist or agonist. They turn on the receptor, okay, the serotonin receptor, and they, like the psilocybin molecule it mimics actual serotonin, the molecule that goes around. So it doesn't create more serotonin, but it creates something just like it that kind of mimics it, and it turns on. And when that turns on, the pathway itself clears up, inflammation dies, and it goes away in it, and then it can translate that information a lot easier.
Okay.
So just simple things like that they're tied back to like depression and all. Inflammation is just really bad.
100%.
So, you know, there's a lot of ways that these things fix your body, and it's biohacking 101. It's nutrition 101. You know, these mushrooms have a lot of a really good source of vitamin D, and vitamin D, most people don't understand that's a hormone. The vitamin D goes to fat, and then from fat turns into hormones. And again, very anti-inflammatory, very, very good for you. You know, what else? You have trace elements in mushrooms, or like trace minerals. I mean, you've got a antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial properties. There's a lot of really good stuff in it. And I tell people, like, you can, just by eating mushrooms, because people eat mushrooms like once a week, maybe. I eat mushrooms, honestly, almost every single meal. And I do cook myself. I was raised by a chef. I can cook up a storm, and so can my girlfriend. So we have a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
But like, it's a passion of mine to feed the people that I love in my house really good food. So I do it. But like, mushrooms are. I mean, the kids are taking mushroom supplements. You know, the grown kids take microdoses. Like, you know, like we all do. It's because we're getting healthy. We're actually getting healthy. You know, and it works.
You see, and that's dope that you have this knowledge now that we can share with, you know, people in the MMA community. Because I don't feel a lot of people, whether it's in or out, really know what's going on. But especially in the MMA community where you're dealing with a lot of a lot of physical trauma, or even the mental anguish of fighting. You're going through all these things that you're going through the fights, you're getting damaged, you may get injured, you maybe have to sit out a year. Some dude, I think, coming back, he been out like 2 years, and you think about, or Charles Bird, a guy from Dallas, he's fighting next week, and it's like this dude hadn't fought in almost 2 years. You know what I'm saying? So when you take these times off, it's not just a physical damage what it does to you; it's also the mental anguish that comes along with the fight game. And I think this is something that will benefit a lot of these athletes.
Yeah, and you know. Before the fight, I recommend a vision quest. After the fight, I recommend a vision quest. During the fight, because USADA they do not test for psilocybin. Right. I know that because they've told me, or Jeff Novitzky's told me multiple times, they do not test for psilocybin, and they're never going to. But we're giving and receiving PTSD while we are in there. That's how it works. You know, again, back to collective trauma from generations ago. We used to kill each other with rocks and swords and axes. I mean, I'm a Viking. I used to chop both heads off with axes.
That's what I have.
And to think that we're putting our bodies on the line like this for everyone's viewing pleasure, you know, in our underwear in a cage, it brings about some trauma in our life and builds in our tissue. And just the fact, I don't want this to stop. I'm trying to make everyone better. That's what people need to understand. Because they go, are you sure you're not going to create a bunch of sissies? I'm like, listen, no. I'm going to create a bunch of very efficient,
right. I remember hearing, I forgot who it was. They were talking about a fighter who, like, at one point, I guess he was like some crazy killer or whatever. And then he went and did like an ayahuasca trip, and he came back. He was like, bro, I don't want to do this shit no more. And so I guess some people have that idea about what psychedelics may do to someone.
Honestly, they can definitely do that. And that's one thing that is why I recommend doing it with me, because I can lead you on a vision quest. This is not, I'm not your average, and again, nothing against other shamans. These are the people that train me. These are the people that I love. These are my brothers. These are people I genuinely care about and love, and I see these people all the time. But they come from a different world.
Yeah.
They do. I know one of them specifically who's very close to me, who's the one who's my main trainer, is different. He's more like me. He's seen some shit, this long story. But, most of them are again, the softer sort of individuals. You get into a certain space with a lot of the feminine energy and stuff that, again, it's not wrong. This is right, but right place, right time. And I'm able to help facilitate a more, I don't want to say aggressive approach, but a combative approach. We're going deep to figure out why we're fighting. Okay. We're gonna plan out the fight itself. It's that sort of thing. It's a performance, and sure, fighting is different than just performing. But I tell people, I work with all kinds of people, and I say, look, I don't care if you're climbing into a cage or performing a song. You're coming to me because you're one of the best in the world. You're doing this at a very high level. That's what it's about. It's about focus. It's about the mental part of it. The mental game planning from like when I've thought about like Burt Watson calling my name while I'm in the back and the whole walkout and the countdown to once the curtain opens, like just all that stuff.
Dude, that's the one thing for me though, like that Burt Watson. So the whole time, I never really had aspiration to fight in the UFC or whatever. But when you get the call, all I could think about was like, yo, I want to hear Burt Watson call my name.
Yeah,
and he dipped out. What was it like to have him call your name? I want to know.
Man, you know what? I need to call him. He's the guy that stinks. He makes me so happy, and that was just electrifying. I come from a different. I was the young buck of the oldest generation.
Right.
Having Chuck Liddell as like an older brother, and just being the people that I've been around my whole life. I got to become friends with my idols like Chuck and BJ and these people that show up to my comedy shows or to my birthday party or I show up to see their kids.
Right.
Like their kids want to see me sort of shit. It's like I was the young buck that got to live the dream and do everything I ever wanted to do and just live that life. And now I'm getting these guys back together to do a few things. And we're also doing something called the Scoring Senate. That has to do. We're trying to fix judging and scoring in MMA. And I've assembled an amazing team of myself, Chuck Liddell, Boss Root, Frank Trigg. We've talked to Frank Shamrock, Rashad, Din Thomas, Zeke Edwards, Todd Duffy, Matt Brown, Mike Brown. Like everyone, we're talking to all these people, and I'm able to just call these people and go, yo, can you help me with this? And it works. I'm not a fighter anymore. I don't want to fight anymore. I will never fight again. I mean, maybe the caveat is I'll fight Henry Cejudo for a BMF light belt. I need $1 million in a backpack, and I need like 5 pay-per-view points. I'm good.
That's a nice change right there.
Whatever. I don't ever want to fight again. I'm so over it. Like I don't want to hurt anybody, and I sure as fuck don't want anyone to hurt me. You know what I mean? Like that shit sucks. I'll go do jiu-jitsu, and I'm like, oh my god, why did I do that? That hurts so bad. My coach would call me and be like, hey, can you come get your black belt already? I'm like, yeah. I'll be there next week. I'm busy this week. He's like, whatever.
That's
I still don't have my black belt. It's so silly.
That's crazy. Before I let you go, man. When we were going back and forth during messages, one thing that stood out to me, I can't remember, is it gerontology? How do you pronounce it? Gerontology. And the reason that kind of piqued my interest a little bit was because we're living, not really with the corona going on, but just as I'm getting older, you're seeing people that you knew were growing up or passing away and all these things. And it's not something that a lot of people really consider, right? Like when someone is on their final, last leg, right? And it's just almost like, all right, we'll put them in a space just to make them feel comfortable. And then you almost forget about them in the moment, outside of like whatever illness they may or may not have. But
they're not comfortable there. They hate it there.
And they hate it there. So what can you explain to me, like what this is and how it sort of benefits people when they're about to get out of here?
Okay, so we got into it talking about my girlfriend's 24-year-old son. He's autistic.
Mm-hmm.
He he's high functioning. He just got his gerontology degree. He drives. He works at her science lab. Like, very smart guy. We go. He's just autistic. Has the tics. The stutter and the shake and all that stuff. But he just got his degree, and of course, we don't want to push our agenda on him. But the largest study that Johns Hopkins has done with psilocybin is end-of-life distress. People who are dying of cancer, who are old, they've had this whole life. Whether they've built an empire or whatever, it doesn't matter. They have a lot of life they live, and a lot of things, the people they're leaving behind. And when our elders, they do these clinical ceremonies, and in a clinical setting, and they do. I mean, we're talking like 20 to 30 grams synthetic doses of psilocybin. It's crazy. That's really high. That is really high. A strong dose for the normal person, like a really strong dose, is 3.5 grams. They're doing 20 to 30 grams. Yeah, I've been really high. I've been in some sort of range in there, not that high, but very close. Oh man, and doing the work in it, and actually doing the psychological work in it is dude, it's not easy. But so these people do it, and they say it's the most profound thing they've ever done. Oh, shit. And it lets them be okay with death. And these are our elders. We need to take care of these people, not shove them in a home. And of course, our generation is going to be much healthier than the current generation. Our parents, and even my parents are super healthy people, and they're falling apart. And it sucks, but we're going to be able to take care of ourselves better, and have this knowledge of how this medicine works to be able to send ourselves off, and our friends and our loved ones, and just anyone in this world that is dying because they deserve it. We need to celebrate life celebrate death like we celebrate life.
100%. We got to give people their flowers, man.
Yeah, have a fucking party and send them off with a big dose. I mean, if I'm ever when I'm on my deathbed, this is going to happen. When I'm on my deathbed, okay, whether it's tomorrow or when I'm 100 years old, the last thing I want anyone to do is go get an entire vial of acid and drop it in my mouth. I want to go out with a bang, because there's been some other legends that have done it, and I'm dying. Fucking let me out of here. I'm in this hospital. You guys say I'm going to die? Okay, let's do this. You know what? Buy the ticket, take the ride. Let's go. I want to do it. I want to do it my way.
My God, Uncle Creepy, Ian McCall, man, I appreciate you for taking the time to, man. So give you a little history. You were out. I want to say, did you either come to Houston and go to 4 Ounce, or did my coach Bob Perez come to you? Do you remember? Were you ever in Houston at 4 Ounce Fight Club?
Oh yeah.
So
I don't know if I was there, but I spent a lot of my ex is from Houston. Okay. And I spent a lot. I love Texas, man.
Yeah, so I remember I walked in the gym one day and I was talking to my coach. We had like this big wall of photos, and he was like, "You know who that is right there?" And I was looking, and this was way before the mustache. So I'm looking like, "Nah, I don't know who that is." He was like, "That's Ian McCall. That's Uncle Creepy." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And he said, "Yeah, before the mustache." And I was holding pads for him. So that's and then when I found out about you, you do the mustache. And then I end up going to handlebar mustache. Actually, I'm in the process of growing this bad boy back out. We don't get it popping. But yeah, man. So you've been influencing me inside the cage, outside the cage, and I'm happy I had this conversation with you, because you dropped some solid knowledge for me today, man. So I appreciate you for taking the time out.
No worries, man. Anytime you ever come to California, hit me up.
Trust me, man. I'm out there. I shoot for LFA. So whenever all this shit clears up, I actually was supposed to be in Cali. Like a week ago, I was going, me and Ed Suarez, he was going to teach me how to surf and shit, and then this whole thing happened. So I'm definitely going to be back out there, and when I do, I'm going to spend a little time out there. We're going to get together and chop it up and do some mushrooms.
Sounds good, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Have a good one. All right, guys, man, that was out. Look, I learned some shit. I hope y'all learned some shit. We appreciate Ian McCall and Creepy for coming out. I told everybody that we're gonna do shit. I forgot what we're gonna do. Next week we're gonna take the week off, and then we'll be back in about a week. So appreciate y'all tuning in. We out.